and good morning, social media land. I hope you're well. It is Monday, the 3rd of March, 2025. If you ever wondered why ordinary Germans didn't stand up to Nazism in the 1930s, you are living that moment right now. The slow creep of far-right extremism does not begin with dictators seizing power overnight. It begins with ordinary people looking the other way, believing that radical movements are just a reaction. Millions in Germany didn't support the most extreme parts of Hitler's vision, but they voted for him anyway. They wanted an end to the political chaos. They wanted someone to stand up to the establishment. They wanted to believe the most alarming rhetoric was just talk. That is how history happens, not through sudden takeovers, but through the slow, calculated rise of a movement that disguises itself as something normal. Now in Britain, Reform UK is rising for the same reasons. They present themselves as a protest vote, a reaction to the failures of mainstream parties, a voice for the forgotten. But just like in pre-war Germany, the people voting for them fail to see what is right in front of them. They assume Reform UK's most extreme policies will never be enacted. They assume that it's all just words, that someone else will stop them. But the polls suggest otherwise. Reform UK is rising faster than any other political party. Their polling has them sitting at 53% of the vote, more than both Labour and the Tories combined. That is scary. The people who dismiss them as harmless are the same people who, in every historical example, wake up too late to realise that they have allowed this to happen. Reform UK markets itself as a party of the ordinary people, but their leadership tells a different story. Richard Tice, a multi-millionaire property developer, talks as though he represents the working class, yet treats Scotland's Parliament as an inconvenience. He has called devolution a disaster. He has suggested that Holyrood should be scrapped. He has positioned himself as a Westminster politician who would rather see Scotland's government weakened than allow it to have any real influence. His party does not pretend to believe in climate action. They call net zero a scam and oppose the very industries that could build long-term prosperity to Scotland. Then there's Nigel Farage, Britain's answer to Donald Trump. He'd probably take that as a compliment. Farage is a man whose entire career has been built on division, misinformation, and opportunism. Farage was the first British politician to visit Trump after his election. He spent years shaping British politics in Trump's image. His opposition to Scottish independence is not about principle, it's about power. He does not believe Scotland should have control over its own affairs, just as he does not believe working class people should have the ability to challenge the interests of those who fund his party. His loyalties are not to Britain, not to democracy, but to the forces that have enabled his rise. He defends Vladimir Putin, echoing Kremlin propaganda that the West provoked the invasion of Ukraine. Regardless how you feel about that, he should not be doing that. His links to far-right figures are well documented. He has stood shoulder to shoulder previously with Tommy Robinson, even though he's tried to push that away now. He has amplified conspiracy theorists who share his worldview. He does not need to be in power to be dangerous. His career is a blueprint for how extremism spreads. Reform UK does not lack supporters willing to push its most extreme messages. James McMurdoch was convicted of fraud after stealing £28,000 from an elderly person, yet he was still welcomed within the ranks of Reform. Andrew Parker, a Reform UK councillor, referred to asylum seekers as vermin and was only suspended when public backlash became too great to ignore. Neil Hamilton, a former UKIP politician who has found refuge in Reform UK, has a history of corruption and sexual harassment allegations. Andrew Edge, another Reform UK member, was caught sharing Holocaust denial material. These are not isolated incidents. This is what the party has always been. They are not interested in governing for the people. They are only interested in securing power for those who see an opportunity in chaos. They are not funded by ordinary working class voters. They are backed by billionaire donors who seek to reshape Britain in their own interests. Christopher Harborne, Reform UK's biggest donor, also funds Trump and pro-Brexit networks. He has past connection to Russian oligarch-linked dark money groups. Jeremy Hoskin, another one of their financial backers, funds right-wing movements in both Britain and the United States. Reform UK is not a party for the people. It's a tool for the rich, a tool for those who already have power and wealth, and to ensure that they keep it. The networks that sustain them are not confined to Britain. The rise is part of a global movement that seeks to push far-right ideology into the mainstream. They have been amplified by Elon Musk, whose social media platform, formerly Twitter, known as X, has become a haven for conspiracy theorists and extremists. Musk personally interacts with and promotes figures who align with Reform UK's worldwide view, using his influence to spread misinformation and undermine progressive policies. His opposition to climate action mirrors that of Reform UK, both working to discredit net zero policies in favour of fossil fuel interests. Their ties to Trumpism are clear: shared campaign donors, overlapping messaging, and a reliance on fear-based narratives that paint immigrants, the left, and social justice movements as enemies of the people. Their relationship with Russian influence is murkier, but no less concerning. Their biggest donor has links to the same dark money groups that back Brexit. Their leading figures have repeated Kremlin propaganda, almost word for word. The forces that have enabled Brexit, Trump, and the global shift towards authoritarianism have not gone away. They have evolved. Reform UK is their latest vessel. If they gain power, the consequences for Scotland will be immediate and devastating. Holyrood could face severe cuts to its budgets, its powers, or be abolished entirely. Public services will be slashed. The NHS faces creeping privatisation under Westminster government that does not believe in public healthcare. The economic damage of Brexit will be compounded by an anti-green agenda that kills off Scotland's renewable energy industry and drives investment elsewhere. Tax cuts for billionaires will be paid for by budget reductions that leave schools, hospitals, and infrastructure underfunded. The attack on Scottish identity will intensify, and the party seeks to strip away rights and autonomy, ensuring that Westminster's control is absolute. Reform UK is not just another political party. It is a threat to democracy, to progress, and to the future of Scotland itself. There is still time to stop them, but only if people recognise the danger before it is too late. Their rise is not inevitable, but it is accelerating. The same complacency that allowed authoritarian movements to gain power in the past is what allows them to thrive today. The people who assume that Reform UK will never go as far as they say they are the same people who in every historical context realised their mistake when it was already too late. The threat is real. The consequences are real. This cannot be ignored. Anyone thinking that Reform UK won't take power, understand this. They will. They have pushed the old school establishment parties into a state of marginalisation. They are winning the hearts and minds of the easily led sheep of England, and they have eyes on Scotland, and not in a good way. This must be discussed, because their rise in the polls should truly be a concern. Tomorrow, we will look at what Scots have in common, and why we must unite against Reform UK before it's too late. I hope you can join us. Thank you for watching.
This is our land, this is our time. No chains can hold a heart so wild. We rise, we fight, we take our stand for Scotland's future hand in hand. No more waiting, no more fear. The truth is loud, the choice is clear. A nation proud, a people free. Scotland's fate is up to we. From the mountains to the shore, we dream of something more. A land of promise, hope and fire, a future that will lift us higher. This is our land, this is our time. No chains can hold a heart so wild. We rise, we fight, we take our stand for Scotland's future, hand in hand. For every voice that's yet to speak, for every heart that still feels weak, we march, we sing, we'll break the chain, we'll never bow, we'll rise again. This is our land, this is our time. No chains can hold a heart so wild. We rise, we fight, we take our stand for Scotland's future, hand in hand.